Hi, everybody. I want to introduce my guest today, who is Matt Miller. He's a mobile notary from the Bay Area here in Northern California and president of the new California League of Independent Notaries. Matt is a very passionate person about his business, the people he serves, and his notary colleagues. In addition to his advocacy, he's a busy mobile notary, signing agent, and a certified fingerprint roller. He began his advocacy work in early 2018, fighting against unfriendly remote online notarization known as RON legalization, and has since become the go-to guy in regards to all legislative matters concerning notaries. Join us for a conversation with this passionate notary advocate and find out how you can help protect your role as a notary public. And this is going to be available to notaries all over the country. It started here in California, and Matt has some news to share with us today. But don't think this doesn't affect you, and that you really need to think about setting up these kinds of leagues to get together with the notaries that are in your state, starting with local areas and expanding to your states. We have a voice, we have a large voice in this country. We need to shout it out and let people hear it. So I'm sending it to everybody on our database. I'm sharing this with Bill Soroka, the notary coach, Laura Bewer, and Notary Stars with Ronnie Mickle. So anyway, here is Matt. I'm going to let him take over, and I'm going to ask him some questions, and we'll go from there. Go ahead, Matt.
Thanks, Carol, and thanks, Carol, and thanks for having me today. I've been looking forward to our conversation, and I definitely agree with you that if you are in a state other than California, you should look to see if you already have a state association or group. And if you don't, then maybe you could consider starting one in your local area, because this is, these types of leagues like the California League of Independent Notaries and the Pennsylvania Association of Notaries and the Ohio Society of Notaries and others, those are your voice at the state level. And they are very important, particularly in recent years. In California 2 years ago, they were trying to pass remote online notarization legislation in California, which everyone is interested and excited about. But the legislation itself was, as we in the lobby business call, half-baked. So it was all about the tech companies and very little about the notaries. But in future years, we intend to address that in California by putting together a iteration of RON that comes from practitioners as opposed to coming from big tech. But more importantly, the big news I wanted to share today is that we have been fighting a bill here in California called AB 1850, which is a worker reclassification law. And this bill is a piggyback bill to a much broader bill that was passed last year called AB 5. And it affected workers or drivers rather, from Uber and Lyft, and is now forcing those companies to reclassify those drivers as employees. This year, the same author of the bill, AB 5, decided to go further and introduce legislation that would have removed what is known as the individual worker provision. And this is what allows you as a person, as a self-employed or entrepreneur person, to determine whether or not you're going to be an employee for a company or if you're just going to be an independent contractor for the company. And thus would have forced our hiring companies, like title companies, like signing agencies, like law firms, for example, to reclassify us as employees. And I can imagine, you all can imagine what kind of problems that may cause for you as an independent notary, as well as for, if you own a signing company, all the additional administrative work you would have to endure and encounter and be imposed upon. And then, of course, the additional tax burden of being an employee and having employees. So we fought with against this bill this year by way of reaching out to notaries and keeping people informed and working with other like-minded interest groups. And our strategy was to ask for an exemption, and if an exemption could not be granted, then to outright oppose the bill. And I'm happy to say that our efforts worked. I got word from the author's office just earlier this week that they have decided to abandon AB 1850, and it will die in committee as of tonight at midnight. So this is a great example of how notaries being informed or staying informed or abreast of what's going on legally with their profession and speaking out and taking action can do. This can give you a voice in the future of this profession and ultimately the future success of your particular business. So I'm happy to say, folks, that threat of being reclassified employees is off the table for now. However, I don't want everyone to think that this battle is over, because worker reclassification is expected to be an issue going forward for years to come, and is expected to spread across the country, because states are realizing that they may or may not be losing tax revenue by way of companies using independent contractors as opposed to employees. And there's also, on the worker side, there's also instances of businesses abusing independent contractors in certain situations. So this issue is not going away anytime soon. And the California League of Independent Notaries, and I have a commitment from the National Notary Association as well, that we are going to continue to push for a codified exemption for Notaries Public, so that no matter what happens in the future, one of California's prized public services, the Office of Notary Public, will be protected, and all of us commissioned notaries as well. So that's the great news I wanted to share today. And then, of course, I think Carol has some questions about, like, what is the league all about, and who are we, and what do we do, and how you can get involved, and all of those types of things. So Carol, that is the big announcement. Any questions on that before we move on with the other questions?
No, I just have to say, I just found out from you during our TNT meeting that this had happened, and I couldn't tell you how happy that made me. And I know how hard you've worked for the last few years being our advocate, and you've managed to do some great things. So I congratulate you. And I'm
Thank
really
you.
excited about this, about your group, the CLN. So, what came to you to have you start that league?
So in California, we didn't already have a state-specific group representing California notaries. It was always assumed that the NNA would do that for us. And the NNA does employ a lobbyist, and they do what they can do. But due to their business classification and their focus being national, their lobbying abilities and advocacy abilities are not only restricted by their business model, but also heavily restricted by law. So I formed what is known as a mutual benefit corporation, which allows us to lobby on behalf of our members, lobby on behalf of our profession, and also, which is going to be something new, and for the first time ever in 2 years, when Mr. Padilla is termed out of office, California notaries and members of the league will have a say in who might be their next boss by endorsing a candidate. So we needed this in California because we've had so many laws pop up recently in recent years involving California notaries directly or indirectly, and we had no real organized voice in the Capitol. And therefore, I felt like that notaries might be getting bulldozed in the way of, we've turned this into a fantastic career opportunity in California. And I certainly don't want to see that opportunity go away for any of us that currently are enjoying this profession, or those that may become successful in years to come. So we needed this voice, and the group, the California League of Independent Notaries, is for the future of your profession. So we lobby on behalf of notaries. We push for legislation that strengthens the Office of Notary Public and aligns with our members' interests. And again, like I said earlier, if you are in a state other than California, you may already have a league or an advocacy group for your state. Just do a little web search.
Well, I really do want people to take this seriously. I actually got my first notary commission, believe it or not, and I think it was 1963 or 4. That's a long time ago. And we've never had anything like this in all of the years. And I'm so happy because I train notaries, of course, that to have this, to know this is on their side here in California. And I would love to see all of my graduates all over the country to have this kind of group that they can get involved in. So how can notaries get involved in this themselves?
Sure. So notaries can sign up and become members of the league at calnotaries.org/join. And then with your membership, you get not only the benefit of having a voice in Sacramento, we do what's called an annual industry survey. So all of our members will be able to participate in a survey each year that helps us to shape our message each year. So if next year we find out that there's a new issue that we need to focus on, we will find out from our members what kind of approach would they think we should take on that issue. And we'll do this every single year going forward for the life of the league. And also you can go on our Facebook group. We have a Facebook page, Cal Notaries, I think it's called CLIN, for California League of Independent Notaries. We have a Facebook page, we have a LinkedIn page, we have all of the normal social media profiles. Also, you can contact me directly at info@calnotaries.org. And then those that are really interested in going to the next level with advocacy, we can do some meetups in your area, or well, online right now will be Zoom meetups, but in the future, I hope to sponsor and make appearances at local meetups. And also, there will be times throughout the year where I am going to the Capitol myself and lobbying and visiting lawmaker offices and making our voice heard. And notaries that would like to join me on those days are absolutely welcome to do so. The more people that join us and the more people that join the league, the louder our voice becomes in Sacramento.
People are, okay, I think I was muted. I wanted to ask you also, because you're addressing primarily California notaries, obviously, right. But I will say over the years, California has always been kind of the leader. Where California goes, the rest of the countries follow, correct? And
generally.
Can people who are thinking about maybe really being leaders and forming groups like this across the country, can they reach out to you and to get some advice? Maybe you can put a little package together that you can send to people to tell them the steps that you've taken to form this. Can we do that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Why don't you give them an email that they can reach out to, or any way that you want to be contacted, and they can find out exactly how to do this in their state. I think it's extremely important, and you're going to have some people across the country that have the ambition, the intelligence, and the concern enough to follow in your footsteps. So why don't you go ahead and do that? Give that to them.
Sure, send them my way. I'm all about the democratic process and making your voice heard. So if you're interested in forming a group and making your state's notary's voice heard in your state politics, then you should reach out to me at info@calnotaries.org, and I'm happy to help point you in the right direction.
Wonderful. Is there anything else that you want to add to this, Matt, before we say goodbye? I want to take as much as I can get from you.
Yeah, I just really want notaries to realize that we are a very powerful lobby. We forget, and I actually learned this myself just by the advocacy process and the work I've done over the past couple of years. 2 years ago, nobody knew who I was in Sacramento, but then they found out I was a notary public, and all of that changed because in the legislature and in politics, when you're a public official, your voice has weight, and we are public officials. Don't ever forget that. So make your voices heard, and you will find that you will be able to shape and at least give yourself a fighting chance when issues like worker reclassification pop up, or when bad legislation for new technology pops up, or whatever the future holds.
How would you like to be our next Secretary of State, Matt? Do you have any political ambitions?
Well, I mean, the first thing I'd like to do is put our next Secretary of State in office in 2022, and then in 2026, maybe, we'll see. I don't know.
Well, I thank you so much for doing this this video with me. We're going to spread it around. We're going to really get it out there. We've got a huge database of some wonderful notaries all over the country. And I want people to be aware that they better be scared. Really take this
Be
serious.
aware.
Yeah,
Be
really.
aware.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, Matt, thank you so much. And I'm sure we'll be talking soon. I'm going to spread this around. So you have a wonderful rest of your week. And thank you so much for what you've been doing for the past couple of years for all of us. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Carol. Thank you so much. And I look forward to having future chats. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you next time.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.